Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to do the second special selection for today. Supposed to be done, I think it's supposed to be Sundays. I honestly don't remember. All this catching up, lost track of what these are supposed to be from. Anyways, this one comes at us from Jonathan Olson. Says I was going to choose something non-metal related, like Josh Garrels or Alan Stone. Shameless little plug. But I have recently become aware of a fantastic Melodeath band. Jojo on the Discord brought him to this attention. I brought these guys to his attention. These guys deserve more exposure. That is definitely a good reason to pick a band for special selection. So I'd like you to check out the band Iapetus, and the song is For Creatures Such as We. It's two dudes. They have some big names on the record, like Jamie King recorded and produced it, and Dan Preslin from Nay Oblivious Scars did all the drums. That is kind of some big names. So we have an official playthrough For Creatures Such as We, and it features Emi Pellegrino doing some additional vocal work, it looks like, judging from this what is this, a thumbnail. So let's get into it. We got a 13-minute song of some Melodeath, so let's go. Just getting right into that. I like how there's still some melody in here. Those eighth notes on the cymbals are giving a little bit of levity to a lot of the low ends. Yeah, I really like combining the guitar melody with the vocals there to really widen it out. You hear how empty it sounds? Yeah, so that provided a really nice piece of levity from all this lower end stuff that's going on. Can't really hear the bass, unfortunately. I saw the bass do a really nice riff a little bit ago, but all I hear are those guitars. That drum work is just phenomenal, though, as to be expected, given the person on it. Nice drum fill there. I like how the vocalist slid down when we came to that rest there, kind of coming back in line with everything else. We lost the intensity in the volume, we lost the intensity in the regularity of notes, and we lost the intensity in the range as well. She brought that down, so everything kind of leveled back out for this section. It's very, very smart way of doing that. And then this is just gorgeous. I like how they were trading back and forth. Yeah, really gorgeous layering here. There's a lot of movement going on, and I can hear everything very cleanly. The mixing, the engineering is phenomenal here. Yeah, this is a part, it's adding in some groove that's been sorely missing from the track so far. So yeah, something cool about this, we mentioned it in the last video about um, even though they're playing a lot of fast notes, they still have a little bit of melody line going in and creating a very strong foundation that isn't just harshness, isn't just attacks. And we see that perfectly implemented here as well. The top guitarist is sort of laying down what would be held notes for an audio floor for a lead line to play over. That guitar part in the top left, that is one of the lines from the classical guitar section, isn't it? Yeah, that little muted rundown. Rundown. That muted strum right there was just some beautiful ornamentation. Just kind of added a lot of character to that line. So okay, death metal is something that is still a bit harsh for me, and I think a lot of it comes down to texture and sound. Um, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes, it's okay. But past that, a lot of it starts to sound samey because of the rhythmic elements. We tend to see a lot of similar rhythmic elements because it mostly is just cramming a lot of notes into a small space, and that usually means that we get a lot of 16th notes or 32nd notes and just constant strumming. Um, and for me, videos like this help me see the differences in some of the stuff that's going on, especially since this style of music also tends to have a lot going on. We have a lot of layers, and having the videos there letting me see all the instruments playing really helps me kind of, it helps me see what's happening so I can auditorily single things out. It's called orchestral listening. It's what I tend to do when I analyze the music. Is I focus in on one instrument and I kind of check out what it's doing, and I kind of bounce between instruments and try to get a a vision of what everybody's doing individually, and that allows me to kind of get a feel for what's going on as a whole. And when we get to styles like this, which are, for lack of a better word, noisy, especially when the mix is designed to create more of a blanket sound rather than individual voices coming together. It's difficult for me to kind of single things out and hear what's going on a granular level. And having the video here really helps me because I think I would not have as much positive things to say about this if I had done audio only, because I do think a lot of it would have kind of melded into sameness along the way. Not that that's I'm not saying that negatively or to put the song down or anything like that. It's just an issue I have with this style of music, and something that I am learning to listen to better or differently, or however that works, with each song that I listen to in this style. It's just something I need to learn and become better at. I don't have a lot of experience listening to this style of music. So, um, yeah, a lot of the line, because like I said, the rhythmic element is very similar from start to finish, aside from the acoustic sections, but the distorted sections, they all have the same rhythmic qualities, and mentally it would kind of run together. Um, so I really appreciate having the video here. I appreciate what they did with this playthrough, and kind of giving everybody a spot rather than bouncing around between the instruments, making sure that everybody has a spot on the screen. That really helps, especially with something so densely layered like this. Um, I want to focus on melody. I know we just checked out a band that I talked about the melodic qualities against. I called it black metal, but maybe it was death metal that I really meant. I don't. These subgenres elude me. I'm not gonna lie. I could be very off in what I was talking about last video. This is described to me as mellow death, so I'm going to assume this is death metal. But there's the melodic quality against the death metal, and it's interesting that we got both of these on the same day, because we just checked out Kardashev, and they put a heavy emphasis on the melody, and kind of took some emphasis away from the death. And this one still sticks really hard with the death and incorporates a small amount of melody, but it still works in the end in a way that improves its listenability for me, my own personal tastes. Um, if you're new to the channel, I kind of mix the two. I try to look at things objectively and subjectively, and just kind of find out what I think about the music from both points of view. So yeah, it's interesting to kind of see both sides of the coin here in the same day. um, so we're gonna get into this. What is this again? Iapetus. So we've listened to some death metal on the channel before, and it is a sonic assault. I'm pretty sure I've called it that before. If you're not new around here, you've probably heard that. It is a lot. Death metal really relies on the constant rapid note attacks, which is the sound that you get at the start of a note. It's the harshest part of the note, and they create harsh music by putting as many attacks as possible. If we reduced all of these 16th and 32nd notes to whole notes or half notes, depending on how often they're changing notes, we would end up with a very similar sounding song note wise, but a very different atmosphere of music. And I want to really focus in on a little bit of that. The guitar on top tended to play a lot of lines that would work well if we removed all the attacks. Um, uh, Worked well as a sound floor, so to speak, something, a foundational work to put your melodies over. Um, so you might have something like digga 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 digga, or something like that, where each of the breaks would be a note, and then you can convert that to whole notes and half notes and get do do do, and you would create an entire different genre of music, but you would get the same effect of creating this nice sound floors foundation for your melodic works to play over. And they find a way to incorporate that. We've listened to some death metal that is pretty much just straight sound, straight noise, so to speak. Not so much an emphasis on changing notes, but just playing fast, holding out notes for 2, 3, 4 bars long, just to create the harsh, rapid attacks. Um, and I really appreciate melodeath, I guess, as a genre where they try to incorporate more melodic ideas into the harsh, rapid attacks. Um, so it's really cool to see that element there where they are taking traditional uh, sound floor lines, but just putting a lot of attacks in them to create the death sound while also getting some melody in there so that your melodic lines actually have some notes to play against, and it keeps the song from sounding, in a sense, boring. That isn't to say that if you don't do that, that doesn't say like standard death music is boring because of that. Um, but repetition has its own other purpose and use. It doesn't have to be boring. Sometimes a repetition can be used to create a trance-like state in the listener, and that's fine too. But for me, my personal taste is that I prefer to have a little bit of movement and momentum in my music. So hearing the melodic line here, it makes it less boring for me because there's music underneath the melody that's being played. Speaking of melody, they constantly have three guitars going, and it is kind of phenomenal how easily I heard all three of them, though I don't know how much of that was because of the visuals. It really helps to see what's being played, and then I can listen for that. And that is a lot easier than trying to listen for something that I don't know is there. If I see it, I know someone's playing it. Um, because really, if I'm really thinking about it, the mix is good, but it also is kind of leaning into the death mix of creating a singular sound rather than a bunch of instruments, and a lot of this stuff does blend together, including the vocals. The vocals have a very similar raspiness, a grunginess to it, like the guitars do, and it's mixed down into the band, so it actually feels like another instrument in essence, and it really is only the syllables that, for me, make it stand out as a human voice and not another crunchy sound in the mix. Um, so, focusing back on the guitars, though, they all have very similar textures and timbres to them. And I wonder if I had listened to an audio version of this, if I would have been able to hear all of the separate elements. The two main guitars, I don't think I would have had an issue, but the guitar that was typically put up in the top left corner was a bit lower in the mix, and I usually had to really listen for it, and that was after seeing it. I don't know if I would have heard every single time they came on without the visual. I'm gonna add to that also the bass. Despite seeing it and trying to listen for it, I had a difficult time hearing it at all. Um, I don't know if that was the too much guitars. I don't know if they had too much volume. I don't know if it was also the drums. The drums were also a bit. The guitars were just very, very prominent in this mix. I don't know if that's a death thing or if that was just them. I remember the comment said that they had a pretty big name producer on this, so I'm going to assume it was intentional. It's just kind of weird because I'm trying to think back and I'm like, I only mentioned the drums a couple of times, and I'm trying to think of something specific to talk about them with, and I can't. There were a couple really nice fills that came to my attention, and of course, just the beast of playing what he did for 13 minutes, especially when you have those really quick, rapid, alternating bass and snare. I mean, it's just the precision and technicality in the performance alone is worth some praise, but it's also the dude from Neobliviscaris, and I have praised his drumming for those exact qualities before. So, yeah, it's just they were not. I spent a lot of time listening to the guitars, and again, that could have been a visual thing. They were on the screen, and the drums weren't. Um, so that could also be interfering with how I heard the song on my first listen. But it is, I mean, the drum, I mean, the bass did not come through at all, and that's a shame. A lot of it seemed to be sort of doubling up, except an octave lower or not, or 2 octaves lower than what the other guitars were doing. But there were 3 or 4 really nice runs that caught my eye. There might have been more that I just missed, and it's just a shame that I didn't get to hear them because they looked cool. And I think having a bit more bass and having that, well, I mean, he was using a pick, so it's not going to be as round of a sound, but I don't know. I mentioned that something that really wore on me a bit was the lack of groove. And I get that that's just death. Death is about the constant grind of the 16th notes and just the steady, constant drill of the attacks. Um, and this is just, I mean, obviously the song couldn't have more groove, but I think having the wider bass sound might have helped with that a little bit, alleviated it. And then, like I said, the bass had a couple of really nice lines that I think would have helped implement a little bit of relief from the constant attacks. Um, though I do really appreciate the parts where the melody shone through the best, the brightest, and that's during the acoustic sections. Um, the layering that they do on the guitars is phenomenal. The fact that they can get all this stuff, so many notes being played per second, and still have 3 guitars come through with really nice lines that all complement each other without stepping on each other's toes. And I think it shines through the most in the acoustic sections because you can really hear the way that their almost classical writing shines through without the distortion to cover it up and without really focusing on all of the notes. They really let the notes hold out. They increase the note length from 8th and 16th notes, and we start to see some quarter notes and some half notes and some whole notes and some vibrato. And it's the same writing composition style. A bit redundant there. It's the same composition style as the heavier sections. It's just the heaviness has been pulled out of the equation so we can really focus on the beauty of the music. And I love it. I think they do a fantastic job at showcasing their raw composition chops in between just tearing it up with that fuzzy, oppressive death sound. um, but yeah, so their like I said, their way of layering the guitars is gorgeous. It's beautiful. I could listen to those um, acoustic sections all day. I kind of wish that they would make an acoustic song or a few acoustic songs in the same length. You know, some 9 to 15 minutes somewhere in there. Just listening to the ways that they can move around the acoustic stuff. I know it's not their style, but I really like their writing. I do. I think they have some really strong compositional sense. And like I said, there's a lot of classical inspiration in here, especially with the way that he or they write multiple melody lines together. Always carving out space for somebody else to have the spotlight for a bit. It's just really good trio work. And I really want to appreciate it's just the textures that most of their songs are written in the melodeth aspect is a huge hurdle for me. So I don't expect them to write a full acoustic track, but I would really love it if they did. That would just be that would be gold. Um, it is really interesting to see almost everything being done by one person and then the other one doing the second guitar. I don't know how the work is divvied. I kind of did not expect to see, one guy doing almost everything. There's lots of circumstances that could call for that. The other guy might not have a bass. I'm sure he could have played the bass part if he wanted to, but maybe he just didn't have it. Stuff like that. Um, but it was just I just got caught off guard a little bit. I was like, this is a 2-man group, and all I see is this guy, the same guy's shirt everywhere. However, doing those bass runs, his classical guitar work, his precision and speed for the black metal work, the death metal work, and then also having that growl, the dude's got chops everywhere. So, yeah, pretty cool to see that. Just kind of all over the place, doing everything. Um, yeah, I guess that kind of wraps this one up. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about. Um, but I think I'm good. So that's where you guys come in. Now, those are my thoughts on Iapetus for creatures such as we, featuring Emi Pellegrino. Let me tag on that for a little bit. Um, that is her sections were perfect composition wise, because the songs don't have very many breaks in them for the higher end. The acoustic stuff we still kind of sit in sort of a mid range, and then the Melodic stuff is a little heavier. We go into a lower mid range, and then the drums seem to be very heavily tuned towards the lower end. I don't even remember any cymbals in this. I'm sure they were there. I remember commenting on an early cymbal pattern, but for the most part, I remember the drum and the snare most. And so I really enjoy her sections when she came through and was, an octave ish above the rest of the band, and really carried some of these sections with a little bit of levity that the rest of the song doesn't have. It's a very heavy mid to low end song, and having those sections there to sort of brighten it up a little bit are they're well received. And I really enjoyed that they included them. I don't know how often she's featured. I would love to see her show up more often, or pretty much any singer with a higher range. It could be male or female, just to kind of balance out a lot of the weight in the note ranges, because assuming that they write a lot of stuff like this, there's a lot of low end, and maybe that's just what people expect or like about the genre, in which case that's just my opinion. I would like some higher end stuff, but if that's not what the song calls for, that's not what the song calls for. But I think it she did a very good job of balancing out, and her voice still had a nice warmth and wideness to it that fit well with what was going on. So specifically, I would like to see more Emi Pellegrino featuring on their work to contrast, the harsh vocals and the rest of the low end stuff. I think she's a very good fit for the band, or at least for their sound. So yeah, that is the last of my thoughts. I swear that's it. That's where you guys come in now. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you thought of Iapetuses for creatures such as we. They only have 700 subscribers. If you enjoyed this, as usual, when we get smaller stuff, smaller bands on the channel, if you enjoy it, go subscribe. Help them out a little bit. Uh, you know, Boost their numbers so that the YouTube algorithm can do its job and get it to the ears that it needs to get to. The whole point of YouTube is to get content out to the people who need it, and it's kind of difficult to actually get it to do its job these days. So if you enjoy it, make sure you subscribe, give them the likes, and maybe comments on their video, and help them get boosted up in the algorithm so that the people can get listening to that. All right. I have a description box under the video if you want any links adjacent to the channel. If you'd like to join the community, join in any of the awesome conversations we have. We share a lot of music. If you're a music lover, which I kind of bet you are, checking out this channel and all, you should probably check out our Discord server. We share a lot of music there, and we have a lot of diverse tastes. So we even have a cool little place called Music Search. If you don't know what you want next, but you know what you're enjoying right now, say, hey, I've been listening to this band, anything like it? And you'll probably get about 50 responses with some new stuff to listen to. So that is probably one of my favorite aspects of the Discord server, just because it is very cool that we have such a wide range of taste and knowledge in our community. Everybody's just fantastic, and I love it. So yeah, links in the description if you're interested in that. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. I will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC with more special selections. I guess. I think if we haven't yet, we're going to start what was supposed to be this week's special selections. Or last week's. I don't know. I'm getting so lost. We're catching up on things. We got special selection now. After special selection, we got shoegaze. I think. I don't know. Don't quote me on any of this. I've gotten lost trying to catch up from being sick the other week. All right. Anyways, until next time, remember to be critical and not cynical about the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.